Hi, it's Ian from the Chord Company. Uh, we've been around for 40 years. We have been making hi-fi cables and expanded range for hi-fi and AV for 40 years. We started out making very specific cables for specific brands, and we've expanded and we've used our 40 years of knowledge that we've accumulated to expand our range, and we constantly looking for new ways to try and find where we can eke out more performance from a hi-fi or a home theater system. So we spend a lot of time going into really geeky stuff when it comes to technologies we use, when it comes to materials we're using, and over those 40 years we've created a nice niche for ourselves where we have really cool, proprietary to us, technologies and materials which help us be at the forefront of cable technology at the moment.
People often assume that premium cables are only important for stereo listening setups. How important are they for home theaters too?
Well, very important, because it's still audio. You're still listening to music or movies, and they work through speaker cables and interconnects, and they get affected by the same challenges that stereo setups have. So it would be very important for AV, or just as important for AV as it would for stereo.
Does the length of the cable between the amplifier and the speaker matter?
To a certain degree, it can matter, but in general, we always have to balance that with practicality in a room. What you don't want to do is make very vast different lengths of cable. So you don't want one side to be very short and another side to be very long. That's the kind of thing. The mismatching is more important than the actual length. Again, it's very system dependent. Very long runs can make a difference, but in general, in a normal home or home theater setup, it's not too critical, so long as they're the same length rather than different lengths.
Should it be as short as possible, or does a longer cable make any difference?
Most people aren't going to be able to hear the difference there. Again, unless it's extremes. You know, the difference between a 2 and a 3 meter cable, no. If you suddenly had a 20-meter cable, which is very unlikely, that's probably where you would potentially perceive a difference in that scenario.
When it comes to the left and right speakers, should the cables running to them be of equal length, or can one be longer than the other?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Equal length is more important than difference in length, than the actual length. So having them the same length is very important. When it comes to accuracy, when it comes to those sort of things, timing becomes important, so yes.
Do high-quality cables like cord cables make a difference only in high-end systems, or can they also improve the performance of mid-range setups?
I would say it can improve the performance of entry-level, mid-range and high-end. The level of the system doesn't necessarily mean it's negated by the effects of what cables are helping you with. So a speaker cable is connecting an amplifier to a speaker. At entry level or at high end, it's doing the same thing. It's trying to get from point A to point B. And if you have something happening in that cable, it's going to happen at any level. Obviously, you wouldn't put a very expensive cable on a very entry level system, but we do a range of products that start relatively entry level and we go up from there. So you would match up the cables with the system. But we can go from fairly entry-level stuff.
What are some of the most common misconceptions people have about speaker cables? Because people still tend to perceive speaker cables as an accessory and not as an integral part of your speaker setup.
Yeah, I always say that cables are components. They're not accessories. Your hi-fi can't work without them. Your AV system isn't going to work without cables. They're integral to the working of the system. So they're a component. And you have to choose your components based on the performance you want, whether it be your source, your amplification, your speakers, or your cables. Each one is integral to the working of your system, so you have to choose according to the performance you want. I think the biggest misconception is that a cable is just a cable. We've spent a couple of days going through demonstrations how different cables built differently with different materials can make a fundamental difference to the sound. And that's been consistent through over the last couple of days with you guys. So yeah, the biggest misconception is that a cable's just a cable. They make a massive difference, tangible, real difference. And people need to pay attention and do auditions the same way you would audition a speaker, the same way you would audition an amplifier or a source. I would suggest auditioning cables. Get cables, listen to them, listen to the differences, and make an informed choice based on what you hear.
Does the type of material or insulation used in a cable really affect audio performance, or is that just marketing?
It really affects the performance. So we at Chord have got, we spend a lot of time looking at new types of insulation, looking at shielding, doing it properly. We use something called XLPE, it's a cross-linked polyethylene. On our high-end product, we use a product called Talon, which is our brand name for, or our registered trademark for a product which is really, really high spec. But definitely insulation affects the cable massively.
Many people believe that a cable is just a cable. What actually happens inside a high-quality cable that makes it different from a regular one?
So when we look at designing cables and building cables, we pay attention to every aspect. The copper, the type of material we plate the copper with, the insulation, the shielding, the connectors on the end. We go as far as to look at the plating material that we put on the connectors. All of these come together in giving us improved performance. It's always about price versus performance. We can't get away from that. So we try and pack as much of our technologies into the cables as possible at a price point. We've got a range of, range of sort of proprietary technologies which we use to help enhance the cable's performance.
Many cables come with a gold-plated connector. Is it actually important, or does it not make much of a difference?
Makes a huge difference, but not so much the gold plating, but the type of plating you use. We actually use gold plating on our entry-level cables. We used to use silver when we went up in the range, and there was a whole lot of reasons for that. Silver, we felt, gave a better connection, they sounded better. Silver tarnishes, it doesn't look very nice after a while. We've got a metal that we plate our connectors with. It's called coralloy. Again, it's our name for this metal, and that was done purely because we were trying to solve problems. We didn't want the tarnishing, we wanted the hardware in this, and we found an alloy that worked really, really well. We've called it coralloy, but plating material is very important. Not so much that it's gold. Like I say, we use gold on the entry level rather than the high end.
How important is cable management and connection quality when it comes to maintaining audio performance over time?
Well, it's not only over a long period, it's immediate. Cable management is very important. We know that there's interactions between sort of power cables and signal cables, so we always try to keep those separate. We do shielding, but still keeping them separate. Making sure you don't coil your cables is a big thing. Coiling it just doesn't work. It creates a bit of an antenna effect, and we try to get away from that. So cable management, it also just looks nicer, but cable management is definitely important in terms of sound quality.